32 times you've been here, 32 times you're back for more. Welcome, everybody. It's playing alongside DDK and Jason Kaplan. We got the backwards hat rock out. And DK, tonight, I kind of expect some of the similar heroes to be played. Any new characters that you have been personally playing?
No, I mean, I've been grinding Apollo and Silver a lot, so I'd love to see those. But I don't know if Apollo is Apollo hot in EU right now. I think it is, right?
Yeah, can you fence in the EU, Kaplan?
Can I fence?
Yeah, Apollo to the fencer. Does he work over there?
Oh yeah, quite a bit. I think he was like first picked, or not, I think he was first picked or like top 3 every single game last week, if I'm not mistaken. And even in NA was heavily proud as well, man. Everyone likes a little bit of the fencer.
We have an April Fool show coming for you guys with so many surprises for ZP, who's in the green room sweating after I just said that live. That may or may not be true, but we do have some familiar teams. Before we get into that, let's break down the format. Welcome in, everybody. It's DDK and Kaplan, your casters. I'm your host, Puckett. We've got the regulars, Leviathan, surprise champions. They've held the throne for a while now, taking on Abrahams and Lowkey W. But Kaplan, these are not the same rosters we're used to in EU. Are we getting tricked, or is Mikhail S really playing tonight for the Abrahams?
That would be, I'd say, the ultimate troll, considering the last time we saw him was in night shift number 1, playing with the old school Buff Enjoyers roster before he got replaced by Hoot. Man, everyone's been seeing, I know everyone out there watch Lightbringers, looking at the scrims of Lowkey W and Abrahams and like, oh, Michaelis is in the game. That would be the ultimate troll, to have someone on that team just tagged up as Michaelis the entire time and go in today like, oh wait, he's not playing. It's not happening. But that would be insane if he actually is making his debut back here in a competitive Deadlock. Is he here to stay is gonna be another question, but can he perform when he's kind of been gone and out of the scene for such a long time?
Shout out to Solomon bringing up the graphic a little bit earlier. We were just teasing it, but you can see Mikhail S is on the official roster we were submitted, and so is Captain DDK. So a little bit of new faces for the Abrahams, which means that their players went elsewhere. Let's see who's playing for Lowkey W, because there's this guy I love watching. He goes by the name of Hoot. I haven't seen him on this squad for a minute.
Yeah, like the mix-up is kind of interesting. I do think, obviously, both of these teams are super dangerous, and I mean, for me, this is probably like a fan favorite lineup, because it's got a bunch of my favorite players here. Like you said, Hoot, incredible versatility, can play basically anything, any position, doesn't really matter. Empty Dreams' playmaking capacity is also really, really strong. And Oberkim, it's just different on the support. I don't know, there's a lot to be a fan of here. I haven't even mentioned Cosmetical or Listic or Frake, like it's just too much.
And the question is, where did D-Mov go? Well, you may see him in a championship match. You'll have to wait for that. That comes after the EU Challengers. Solomon, let's break it down, though, from the start. We got to give a big shout out to our Patreons. Thank you all for supporting the channel. We're going to be jumping into this EU match when the players are ready. But first, these are the supporters that have helped us get all the way to episode 32 here of the Deadlock Night Shift. It's been an incredible run. Mad shout out to our board members. We've got 4 of you up there, and without your support, we couldn't have had the initial start we did. After that, though, we got to give a shout out to the regulars. You guys are here to learn about the game, and you're interested in the pick priorities. So as we mentioned, Apollo, used by Europe. Is he going to be rocked by NA once again? Let's see the pick priority. DDK, what would be your first pick tonight? I heard you and Jason talking about some drafts earlier.
I mean, Mirage did get some tweaks, but he's still really, really good. So I could see that Mirage might still be targeted. Celeste hasn't been touched as well, and still is in pretty good form. Venator is still, I think, really highly desirable, as that's like M1 carries. Mina's still up there as well. So I don't know that there's going to be necessarily anything that's too different in terms of the top shelf picks. I wouldn't expect to see any changes this week. Graves, maybe. Graves, was really, really strong in the M1 role. I don't really know how the adjustments, the recent patch that happened, that was just for Graves, how much that's going to change things, though.
Kappa, do you think anyone moves up on this leaderboard?
I'm kind of torn, because we do have Michaelis back, and I almost want to see him play Pocket, but he's got Tass on his team, so who would really take it? Sorry, Paradox, not Pocket. But Pocket for me is the one I want to see keep going up in the picks. Like I was streaming today talking about, look at some of the scrims that FPS Lounge was playing against No Earnings and eventually against Melee Creeps, and Pocket is so damn strong. That Affliction max rank shuts down all healing you can do, and considering Kelvin's moved up the priority, you've had Rem pick quite a bit. It's such a good counter to any sustain, any long-term fight you want to take, that a team can completely walk over you, especially if you get like the double affliction. And hell, we even did see what was it, Leffa playing Glocket with Refresher in some of those scrims. So I'm really hoping to see Pocket move up the list, but I'm also sad to see my boy Abrams, one pick. That was it. It was Listic last week at a Lowkey W. What the hell did he fall off from?
Falling down. He's getting blasted by silver, it looks like. Let's take a look here at our item prioritization. If you're looking to invest at home, DDK, what are you buying?
I guess it depends on what we're playing, but
Healing Bane. That's always number one every single night shift, right?
Yeah, you get the golden egg. Get the golden egg, and then get your just rush your first 3200 item. But yeah, like the very spirit dominant meta means the spirit resilience is at the top, and I think since that's one of the biggest patches we had recently, Great Expansion just goes so hard on everything that it's not too surprising to see it there as well. And with that as well, like all these items make so much sense at this point in time. Heal Bane is still there. Having that anti-heal is always going to be very, very key, especially winning these 1v1s, having more sustain in these fights, especially for ganking and so on. But the stamina mastery, I think, is something I could even expect to get a little bit higher, especially at the pro level.
More movement. Let's see it in these games. It's time to get into our matchup. As we mentioned, we have your two teams. It's Lowkey W facing off against Abrahams. We gave you a short little look at the squads. Kaplan, can you give me the lore, though, on Abrahams? Because I feel like we were looking at the leaderboard in the last 30 episodes. They've been involved in almost every single show.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair. There's really not many great teams outside of the three we have playing in EU. The thing is, there are other teams, but none of these teams hold a candle to how good Abraham's, Lowkey W, and Leviathan are. They might be up there when it comes to like Eternus 6 and leaderboards, but when it comes to team play and how organized they are, it's very tough to topple one of these three kings, if I'm honest. So I think that's why we're seeing Abraham's, so consistently, Lowkey W as well. We need to see more teams out there because NA, I think they have like 5 teams who could all be playing in Night Shift any given week. So we need to see a little bit of love when it comes to that over in EU. Maybe with the fact that Deadlock got the official Twitter handle of Deadlock, might be an inclination to open beta coming soon. Knock on wood.
I saw that pop up on like Reddit's main feed, DDK. There's a little hype around this, and I was actually just at DreamHack in Birmingham this past weekend working on Call of Duty. Every day I walk through the Dota Lounge, and this was one of the coolest crowds. They had one of the sickest main stages. I'm like, when Valve is ready to do this right, we are going to have one of the grossest sets with the best merch. They were doing the Peaky Blinders theme. It was like, by the order of Pudge the Butcher. And it was one of the sickest sweatshirts of all time. It was already sold out in XLs, but I'm going to track it down. Anyway, there's been a lot of buzz about the game recently. Is that why Mikhail S is coming back right now?
He went away for studying, right? He's like at university, so that means he must be, maybe he is feeling it and wants to have his foot in the door before it's too late. I mean, I could see that being the case because he already has that high level of skill. Jumping back into with a lot of these players, I think it makes a lot of sense to not, miss out on that early wave. Hey, in Counter-Strike, Carrigan was getting his masters when he was on a tier 1 like top 8 team, so it's possible.
Was he in a phase back then? Anyway.
Yeah, I think it was Astralis when he was on Astralis. This was a very long time ago.
He was getting his master so long ago, we can't remember. Kaplan, we talked about Lowkey W, but what is their lore? What's the story for this team in Europe?
Honestly, it's very weird because I feel like the lore of the team. So like you have to go back to even before then. You had to go back to Buff Enjoyers when some of the players didn't necessarily want to continue to compete as heavily, and some of them wanted to focus on streaming a little bit more. So you saw the team eventually break up. Obviously, a lot of other reasons out there. And talking to Listic about when you need to get back into a new team, he says, no, I'm really feeling just being able to stream. But something about this roster, something about this team, even with recent changes, has been able to pull him back in. It pulled Shark in initially, and then I think he came out and Obi Kim came in. Now you got Hoot back on the team. This potentially could be like the version 2 of Buff Enjoyers, especially if we can get maybe one more old Buff Enjoyer player on this roster. But the team, they have Lightbringer behind them coaching. We see them have crazy step-ups in skill. They've definitely filled some of the gaps that they were lacking in knowledge and team play, and they've been on that upward trajectory. How long it's going to last, I really don't know. I don't know if they plan to stay together as a full 6. I don't know if streaming is going to take over as a priority yet again, but this team has proven in a very short amount of time that they can compete against the best of the best in EU, which makes them a very deadly team with so much history behind a lot of individual players.
Now, which one of these logos is the Buff Enjoyers?
The number 2, 3,
the
4,
greenish
6,
purplish
5,
rock
6,
thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay,
It's
and
one of
then
us.
if you're looking at the Abrams, that's Abraham's. And if you're looking at the Viscous, who was that?
Goo balls. That was Goo
The
balls.
Goo
Fearless
balls.
Furies or the Dragons.
Now, if you've noticed here, guys, we've got some low-key W's, that LKW, but right beneath it, you got a lot of Vipers. Now, who could this Viper team be, Jason?
Well, it's a team that never gave us a logo, and I don't know how exactly he goes into this one, but it is Leviathan, man. And this team has been grind. I think they're the epitome of grinders. Looking back to Night Shift 16, 2-0 loss, 2-0 loss, 2-0 loss, 2-0 loss, 2-0 loss, 2-1 loss, 2-0 loss, 2-0 loss, 2-0 loss, 2-1 loss.
They held
and
some
then
L's.
Somehow, a lot of L's, man. But somewhere, something clicked for them around maybe Night Shift 27. And from there, they have been winning nonstop, which we didn't really ever expect to see a team take down Abrahams like they've been able to do. But to do it consistently, doing it once was like, okay, that could just be a fluke because they brought out Mo and Krill against Celeste when Celeste was really strong and no one knew about picking Mo into that. But then they did it the week after and the week after and the week after yet again, proving that they are a very solid team, a team to be respected. But they don't have Sai playing today because Demov is subbing in for him. And Sai has had some crazy impact for him the last week. So I don't know how they're going to feel today.
That's a great call out. We are going to see Leviathan in your championship match. Our EU Challenger match is ready, and we'll be jumping into the 1v1 when we can. This, of course, is going to help us decide who is going to go first or second in the draft, and DDK will explain all the rules for you there. Before we jump into it, DDK, is there a best player in Europe right now, and is his name still Demov?
You know, it's really, really hard. I mean, probably Demov, I think, just because of the sheer impact he can have across the variety of roles that he can have. I mean, because for me, I would always want to have Hoot in that argument, but I do think Demov edges him out. I don't know if you were on the same page there still, Jason. I feel like ZP, I can hear him in the distance, definitely agreeing with the Demov pick. But where are you at?
I don't know. I had a chat with AVG today, and he described that everyone in EU on these teams can be like a rank 1 player. They could be rank 1 if they ever just to grind it. When it comes to like best, there's always so much you can learn when it comes to an individual player that the only way you get better is playing around a team and the team playing better. And I find that really interesting because Demov single-handedly might be like really good individually, but Abrahams haven't been winning. So is it realistic to call him one of the best or the best player in EU? I really don't know. I think you might have to start looking towards the Leviathan crew and how well they've been playing because OCs is really getting out there as a name that's been recognized.
True. OC's is incredible.
Making some strong claims, some great aim, and whatever happened to Zergy, my trackball hero? He used to be one of the greats. Zergy, I miss you on the show. We'll be talking about you in a little bit. Right now, though, we got to talk about some Mo and Krill. We've got 2 names. Let's zoom in and try and read them. DDK, get your binoculars out. Who's on the left? It looks like Saint. Who's on the right? Is that the Hoot Daddy?
It is Hoot.
I don't know, man. I can't.
No, guys, look under Puckett and look under me. You have the teams, their colors, and who's playing. So production.
Guys, I use binoculars instead of using that tool. I worked way harder than needed. In the meantime, Hoot is looking exhausted, boys.
Are those your real
You guys
glasses?
cast.
I just got distracted.
They are, yeah. They are real glasses, yeah.
I mean, who's probably going to
deteriorating. That white Saint, he's gonna beat who? To be honest, I'm kind of surprised. Like, whose outplays is pretty next level, but
you know what you should be surprised about though? Looking at Lightbringer's streams when they were watching the scrims versus Abrahams, you know what Hoot was playing for the team? Kelvin.
what was he playing?
He was playing
Support?
a support.
Is there an aggressive Kelvin build we don't know about?
There is. Well, yes and no. You get, was it 2 points in your ice path, which means it has a really low cooldown, so you can basically have it every wave. You get the bullet resist from tier 1 ice path. You buy monster rounds, you go high in the sky, and the Guardian just does 0 damage to you because you have monster rounds. Oh my. What the hell is that? What is that?
That's gonna be Celeste, right?
Is that Celeste gone, the unicorn princess?
Did our production like hand draw and paint all of our pictures today?
I think this is Solomon's personal artwork.
See, that's pretty dope. I mean, I immediately knew what it was. So, good job. Oh, wow.
Abrams?
Okay.
I need to hear it.
No, Mirage. That's Mirage Band.
Okay. Oh my God. There's no way that we have 38 of these. It's got to, right?
I'm waiting to see first pick to see what's going to happen. But I mean, so Venator, very high prio pick when it comes to having Mirage band away, Celeste band away. Oh my God.
Nice. Oh, wow.
That's a strong painting.
Actually. That's good.
I think Knock made these. This is way too good for Solomon's hand.
Just the vest ripping, the howling. They even colored in like the inside of the mouth. That is
so dope.
That is amazing.
I agree.
What else are we gonna get?
I got you.
Infernus. Interesting. This is really interesting.
Infernus, I've been seeing him a ton, man. Left has been playing him a ton over in NA. We've seen it a couple of times over in EU as well. I think Vraic was playing it for Lowkey W in some of the scrims. Very good into brawly hero compositions because you do a lot of zone denial. You just do a lot of pure damage with your flame dash. You're very slippery as well. And also you reduce a lot of spirit power when you are able to get your like afterburn up on people. So it's very strong to deal with what is in meta right now of like high spirit damage in that mid game to get tempo.
Okay, you were talking about your Apollo play, DDK. Who do you feel this character fits best on the Abrahams? We got to call out that Captain and Mikhail S are back in the lineup tonight.
You know, I actually have no idea because I don't know because it probably kind of fits into the spirit nuka kind of flex category. Okay, that is my favorite one.
That's a pretty strong, Kelvin. That's really strong. Rem was good too.
I think it's maybe going to be Captain playing the Apollo in like a position like 4 kind of role. Where he's doing a little bit of the jungle, then obviously gets involved in a lot of these fights. Venator, that's amazing. Like
Can we pay for these? These are way too good for anyone on our team to have produced.
So I'd expect Lowkey, or rather, Abrahams might ban Mina here potentially, right? Yeah, okay, so Mina gets banned. That's another one of those like top tier like M1 carries, which currently Lowkey W doesn't actually have. So speaking of what Abrahams doesn't have right now, and what would be a high priority ban, they don't have any front line. So like maybe like a pocket makes sense actually as a counter for the Kelvin and the Rem. That's true. Sinclair, okay.
Sinclair ban. All right.
Makes sense.
What ultimate are you protecting?
Well,
the Kelvin?
Yeah, I mean Kelvin, but also if you did pick pocket into Sinclair, you're running into a pocket who can take 2 big ultimates away from you. Or Sinclair who can do that. So I think Abrahams, you need to pick pocket here, give that over to Mikhail S. That looks like Graves. I kind of dig the redesign. So for me, this kind of says that Lowkey W is going to be picking pocket. There's just I see no world you let pocket get through this when you or through this far when you have 2 healing supports.
What's really interesting too is that you know, Geist and Venator you kind of play as like the carry off carry, and so then you know the Infernus. It's gonna be really interesting to see how Infernus just like operates in the game. I'm gonna be super interested in following kind of just the kind of timings and plays, rotations we'll see out of the Infernus. Okay, that's
Billy.
I just want to see the pictures.
Whoa. That's a lash. Is that Disguised Toast? Who did they draw?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
That looks like Rock Lee from Naruto.
Is that Super?
Oh, it's supposed to be Super. Okay.
Okay. Vindicta. I was expecting just a blue foot, but shout out to you guys drawing her face.
Yeah. So Saint could be Vindicta, but also Michaelis could be Vindicta. But I'm still looking at like, bro, there's a pocket available. How does pocket make it to a 6-pick? They don't even go pocket.
Oh.
What is happening here?
Look at that chin. Look at that jawline.
This is Chad.
We were just complaining that Abrams was gone last week, Kaplan. He's back in for the Abrahams. Yeah. Who plays it?
I'm assuming it has to be together. Actually, I don't know. I can't lock it down if it's together or captain because I don't.
Right? Oh, you were right about the Lady Geist and Graves. They just flipped her. Lady Geist gave birth to Graves. Now you know the Deadlock lore. Well done, artist. Bringing it all together, simplifying it for those dumb casters. DDK, let's rank the ignoring the profile. Actually, let's start there. Who has the better profiles set up here? If you had to display one of these on a wall, which one goes behind you?
I like the chat energy from Abrams. I feel like that's pretty strong.
It's pretty
he's definitely got some aura going on there. I'm gonna go with Abrams.
I think so.
I'm stuck between Geist and Graves because it looks like the same portrait, but it's just so slightly changed and different between the two. Because Graves has like the spiky hair on her left side, our right side, and then Geist has like the earring. And like the gown, very tricky. For me, Venator. It's like, look at him, man.
Is the silver not the best drawn of all the creatures?
You know what?
The silver or the Celeste? The Celeste originally kind of looked like Patrick from SpongeBob. It caught me off guard. I didn't know what was going on.
I didn't know Harley Quinn is in this game. I thought that was a different game.
Shout out to everyone here. Thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. We're going to be jumping into the games, and I'm told our players are just about ready. We do these drafts in the advance. So Jason Kaplan, on a real grade, who do you think won this draft?
So I'm looking at Lowkey W, and I think one thing they're going to have to worry about is maybe the Infernus, and even technically the Venator a bit. Like, the thing is, they have a lot of healing. Like, Rem has the highest single target burst healing out of anyone else in the game. You can do upwards of like 1,000 healing instantly when you do a tag along. You have Kelvin with Dome and healing, and I know Hoot's going to be on the Kelvin most likely, so he's going to be very annoying when it comes to the laning phase. They have a lot of sustain. They have a lot of damage as well, especially if Lash can open things up with a good Death Slam. But on the other side, I mean, if you get domed for them, it's not necessarily the worst case scenario, because the Dome acts as walls for Venator. Infernus is just going to dash around the entire time and become a pain. When it comes to like who I think can win this one, I don't know. I'm leaning slightly towards Abraham's, to be honest. Like, I'm not necessarily a big fan of like double support like this, but I'm also not a big fan of like not picking Pocket into it, man.
Yeah, is it possible to go full screen on that Lash icon? I saw that request over on YouTube. Go ahead, DDK.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm kind of with Abraham's as well. I feel like the roster is just a little bit more balanced overall. Even though they didn't pick up like the maybe what would have been the obvious anti-heal solution with Pocket, I still feel like they've got like two really strong carries. They've got good utility with the Vindicta, good front line, good pick. But yeah,
this is so good. It's so good. The neck is so strong.
It is. Yeah, it is pretty strong, man. Wait, what's it is like? What's that say on the hand there?
S-Fam.
The super fam, S-Fam.
Mm-hmm. When did we decide that's what Super's eyes looked like? It's unique.
What do you mean, like determined?
Yeah. It's like, is he wearing glasses, or has he just not slept in a few weeks?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
They're bulging a little bit. I like them.
Bit
They're
of
strong.
A bit of column B there.
Shout out to Super, one of the OGs. He's into Deadlock.
100%.
You should be into Deadlock. Tell your friends to get into Deadlock. We're already over 7,000 people watching on the YouTubes and Twitch combined. Here is a much better photo of the Super. This is incredible artwork, guys.
I'm scared that we actually have some skins modded in game now when we hop in. I didn't think about this.
Didn't even think about
Did
that.
you see the Red Bull on his hip, by the way?
I did.
That was so sick. Are we getting a Red Bull sponsor on this show, DDK? We got to talk to the boss. We're drinking water tonight, clearly, Kaplan. It's going to be about 16 more minutes till the players are ready, said Solomon, who has not talked to me at all during the show. I'm just assuming we're waiting on players at this point, because ZP is normally on the show at this point in time, and he's like, hey, guys, ready for you to get in the lobby. But he went, and he's just been AFK since the start of the show. So we don't know if they're in the lobby or not, Kaplan.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I honestly, I think there's a lot to talk about here because of Abraham's losing two players, man. I'm gonna chew on it, I'm gonna digest it, and I'm gonna spit it out the other end with a good answer of who's gonna win this one. Abraham's having to swap two players. I think right there is already extremely difficult. I think if Abraham's don't have a strong early game, which is probably the only point that they're gonna have a chance to win this game just based off of roster swaps, it has to be that. I don't really foresee their team fighting to be exceptional when having to replace those two players who played like the jungle roles for the team. But then Lowkey W side, man, you're gonna if we watch through the beginning, he's gonna do some dirty things when it comes to the laning phase, and that's typically where Abraham's looks to get their lead to carry games through. Is that or like a really risky mid boss take that surprised the other team? I'm gonna have to in the end just lean to Lowkey W on this one.
So it's interesting because I go Abraham's a little bit because for Lowkey W, I feel like there's some awkwardness in terms of like maybe how they'll play some of the macro, because you've got you've got Graves that is being played right now. We saw it with OCs to really good effect last week, even though we've had some of the changes where Graves it can be like a hard carry. But there's no, I mean, Silver is not necessarily like a hard carry per se. You kind of want Silver to be usually kind of moving around quite a lot, and you don't usually, I think, keep Silver just like farming a lane. But that's the second player that makes the most sense to do that. So it kind of feels a little bit awkward with the double support. So the Kelvin kind of has to be played like pretty aggressively, I guess. And so it feels a little bit awkward, but here we go. We're going to be getting into it. The game will reveal the answers.
I think what we're going to see here, Dan, out of the Kelvin in particular, with played by Hoot most likely, is it's not going to be like a full-on Saya level of support or Saint. He's not going to be sitting back as like a position 6, sitting there spam healing the entire time. I think he's going to let Rem do most of the heavy lifting when it comes to that. I think what you're going to look for him to do is how fast he can get around the map and how annoying he can be to like assist other players inside the jungle, which I think is going to be over towards Silver, looking to capitalize on taking away a lot of these enemy camps. The Graves for sure going to be the M1 carry for the team here with how things played out in the draft. Graves isn't really going to come online until like 20k. She's pretty much going to amount to almost nothing until that point in the game. So if Lowkey W make it like maybe even on souls up to that 20-minute mark when Graves can power up, I think they have this game, honestly.
Yeah, I'm going to be super curious to kind of keep an eye on sort of those dynamics with like what lane and where. But for now we got the lane matchups. So we've got Kelvin with Graves on the right lane against Vindicta and Abrams. That's such a classic combo. I love to see that now that we have Abrams back in, and also Vindicta back in as well, because I haven't had too much Vindicta in the last couple of months.
Yeah, we've seen like, a little bit here or there, but not to the extent we saw back when Michaelis was so heavily played. I mean, that was all about the shred build that you would go with Crows with her and like Mystic Vulnerability, stuff like that. You would just really be a pain. But looking at Geist here, so it's going to be Michaelis actually going to be on the Geist, and it will indeed be Saint over on the Vindicta. That's a lot of pressure to put onto Michaelis here, because he is basically playing like a secondary carry for the team, even though together it's going to be on the Infernus. And then Sonya, of course, being that main carry for the roster, but he's going to go on that left-hand side paired with together, looking for some like early control to have a strong start.
This is a very rough lane, isn't it, for Lowkey W to deal with? The Geist and Apollo, like, capacity to nuke you down is going to be pretty nasty. Very hard lane.
I wonder if Michaelis is going to be going like the Drain build, because it gives you, I think it's around like a net 500 in trade, because the amount of healing that you do from yourself and also the damage you do to your opponent makes it very hard to deal with a Geist in general when it comes to the game. And remember, I talked about in like prior night shifts, we had a very heavy like bomb build investment, but it's really switched over to the Drain build, being able to combat quite heavily. But also, I don't expect Michaelis to be going for bomb build, considering he's probably not going to be looking for just solo farm the entire time. That's probably going over to Sonya for the most part.
Yeah, I totally agree. It definitely, I think that makes a lot of sense, and getting those good trades in lane is really important. And another question that's going to be super interesting is this Infernus we're seeing, paired up with the Venator. How Infernus is going to play is going to be really, really cool to see. I've been such a big fan of Infernus, and like the Dash Infernus especially. And so I imagine we'll probably see maybe some version of that. Is that kind of the build you're expecting to see, like a dash-oriented build?
100%. I mean, Together likes playing like a rule that can play like somewhat frontline, though obviously Infernus doesn't do so, but to be kind of a nuisance in these fights, I 100% expect him to go that dash build, go for like Warpstone, Counterspell, go for something that has high survivability instead of necessarily high damage, because the longer the fights go, the more damage you're going to put out once you get rapid recharge online, and you're just flame dashing the entire time through the enemy team. But if they can have a strong start in this lane as well, it gets him going extremely strong. There's nothing I want to touch on really quickly. You see another gank come through here, this time out of Hoot, rotating from the right lane to mid. So as you talked about before, having a really hard time with Lash and Silver against this Geist combo with an Apollo, it actually helps alleviate that pressure, because Break's already rotated to the left, look for a kill. He's doing it yet again, and now Hoot helping to elevate this middle lane for him.
Maybe a little punish on here as he returns to the lane, and it was a good detail that we didn't catch actually, because the 2-minute timing when all the boxes spawn, you can just do some box running, get back to the lane around like 320 to catch that next wave, or you can go and gank in that same time as well. So the box running route can open up gank opportunities at those timings. So it's a kind of a nice way to like help out a lane if a lane is kind of struggling a little bit, which the mid lane I think absolutely was. So actually getting the value there with the converting on the kill in mid is definitely a good way for I think Lowkey W to stay competitive in that mid lane.
Yeah, it's kind of a win-win situation, because you're getting boxes, so you're still keeping your souls up, and then you have the ability to potentially go for a gank. And that was a really good read by Right to go for the counter gank on a task, more importantly, in that situation on the left-hand side. But also, Rake's been kind of out of lane quite a bit, feeding a lot of farm over to Cosmetical. I mean, typically a player they like to feed a lot of farm to. Empty Dreams is already struggling on this right-hand side, even though he has the support of Hoot on the Kelvin. But so far, I mean, you're seeing Abrahams, they want to apply pressure. You can see on the map alone, they're trying to push in towards middle, though it gets actually punished quite heavily as Michaelis goes down here. Even on the right-hand side, they're keeping that aggression on.
Yeah, it's good timing too. This is that really key timing for the 430 timing, where everybody's trying to get priority on their lane so that they can get the bridge buffs. And so, like, obviously at this level of play, it's really interesting how good teams are and how they'll prioritize that. But there you go. That mid lane got priority because of that kill for Lowkey W. They're onto the bridge pretty early here on the left side. And it looks like Abraham's, they got the priority on the right side lane, so they're going to get the right side bridge buff. So it's going to be a split apiece. Silver getting the spirit buff, not really the best one. I think, you would rather have gun for sure, or maybe vitality over that if you're playing the Silver.
did hear about like a spirit build apparently for silver that Lightbringer's talked about, and Cosmetical might actually be going towards that route.
No way.
See his build as it transgresses later on. We did see Vrake go for a gank on the left hand side while the buff was being taken. It didn't net into anything and actually ended up being listic to fall on this left lane. Now the pressure's really going to be on here because they have access to not only like their tier 1 camp here on the left hand side by keeping this pressure, which they're going to steal, netting them a big lead in this lane more importantly, but also a lot of damage onto this Guardian too.
Yeah, it definitely works out quite nicely for Lowkey W on the right side, especially after losing the buff there. Apollo up to the usual shenanigans, rushing the spirit investment. Apollo's burst damage is really nice.
It's not nice when you're on the other end of it. Receiving end of the burst. Well,
Oh, wow.
coming in from Saint. He's got Heal Bane picked up, extra charge, high velocity rounds too. It looks like he's still going to be going towards like a similar Crow max, currently at tier 2 on this one. Not going for the heavy investment to assassinate for the weapon damage, but that's not surprising because it's Saint playing the support, playing the Vindicta as support. Here we go, our first Death Slam coming on through. Just connect onto Task, and Cosmetical finishes that one up as well. And now Vrake needs to keep his distance as rotations coming out together to kind of capitalize on this gank on mid.
Yeah, great movement there, but I don't know that it will be enough. Chase down coming on through. And Inferno's already causing some problems here. Nice cut off of line of sight there from Cosmetical.
I see the enemy.
But after all said and done, we're about a minute away from the Sinners spawning, the next sort of big objective, I suppose. And all the tier 1 towers are actually up. Even though we're getting so much action, I feel like no one has dropped a single tier 1 just yet.
Yeah, it's been a lot of like fighting in the middle parts of the lane, but that tower actually might come into fruition to be killed off in the mid lane as Hoots rotate on the right hand side looking for a kill. Michaelis does have swap up, and Task does have a Tani Losando escape as well. Not to mention Together's going to be here, very low on health, forced back. A quick parry comes through. Look at this monster rounds. Look how much damage he's taking. It is so slow, so minimal, and he can just full nuke this Guardian on down. That will be the first one of the game taken here on a Lowkey W.
And again, it's really nice to have the priority at 7:30 there. You got the Sinners coming up. You want to get that tower down. And especially, you got Rem on your team as well. You want Rem to be able to sack all those Sinners.
They didn't really net much into anything here as a parry comes through as well, connecting onto quite a few. Oh my god, did that really hit the gut shot into the box? That's such a weird angle. Listic not gonna get parried this time, but he will fall either way to Sonya's sniper. It's a big kill coming on through. Maybe another, but that's a good parry coming out of Obi as he retreats back towards his own Guardian. But very skirmish heavy here so far in this game as we do pass that 8-minute mark as the Sinners have spawned on in.
Yeah, lots of brawling. And now some Sinners will be collected. Cosmetical with a good lead on the Silver, which is really, really nice. Because obviously Silver has insane burst damage, and if you can get that edge and get the power spike really early on, it's gonna be pretty nasty. Express shot, probably that first power spike, and then maybe the next one being the Hunter's Aura is the next one you'd be looking for.
Well, so Silence Wave as well, we've seen a massive uptick on. When we're looking at like item priority from last week, that's something I wanted to touch on, just didn't have time to. That Silence Wave is just, we've seen teams pick up 2, 3, sometimes even 4 of these just because of how good they are. And talking to AVG, because Torment Pulse got nerfed, Silence Wave kind of indirectly became better because it has an AoE around like 300 damage cone in front of you, plus it silences, and it's a really good spirit pickup anyways if you're just trying to get your investment. Just all in all, like a really strong item right now, and I'm not too surprised to see it. But Cosmetical, he needs to be this beast for them because he needs to buy time for Empty Dreams, I'd say, to get farmed. So for him having a strong start, which I think was the emphasis for Lowkey W, it's going to net them a very strong mid game.
You can see Cosmetical very, very threatening here in the werewolf form. Like Curso is about to fall. However, the chase is still on, it seems, and I think those cooldowns are going to be good to go to try to keep that pursuit on, and they will get out of there. And, to your point about the Silence Wave, a nice one to get that 4,800 investment a little bit later would be the Cold Front. I think works really nice on Silver as well to really make things like very hard for the opponent once you're on top of them. British buffs coming up in the urn as well. Fight over the high grounds. Really important positioning to win out on, and looks like Lowkey W are going to be able to claim this forward space towards the urn. for the time being. However, Kelvin Dome still a potential threat here on Hoot. He's got to reposition, though. He's getting chased down and just, I think, sectioned away from the urn. So Abraham's able to take control of that. And it's going to be, I think, Vindicta that grabbed it.
So an opportunity for a pretty big win, though, here for Lowkey W with the urn being taken. You have a left lane guardian to take. You have a right lane guardian to take as well. You just have the ability to go towards mid if you want to let the urn get dunked for free. It's a task to actually shove up this left-hand side to make sure they can't shove that guardian down. That's like the typical pull that you see. You pull them one direction, you push somewhere else. As, oh my god, Empty Dreams almost gets completely nuked on down. The Iradomini can be coming in. He needs to hit these shots, though, if he wants to finish off the Graves. And Listic comes in just the right time to save him. Oh my god, Listic, the perfect timing. Keeps Empty Dreams alive. Well, not for much longer. Stay closes it on out with the snipe.
I see silver.
I can't believe he didn't connect the Iradomini there. That was kind of wild. But hey, Vindicta's there to save the day. And now Cosmetical's arrived on the scene. The burst damage goes crazy into the werewolf form as well. Everybody bunching up for the swipes. The Lycan swipes is a problem. Right now, Cosmetical is tearing everybody to shreds. This is a great look now for Lowkey W, as they will win this battle around the urn drop-off. And at the same time, there's a lot of pressure on the left side coming in from Abraham's. The Venator Apollo combo is definitely threatening, but looks like they can't go really all that much deeper. Yeah. And so as we take stock of things here, Jason, Abraham's, they've got 2 tier 1s up still. So despite losing maybe the ground there in the end, they still have somewhat of a macro advantage.
I think they kind of do for now, but I think the problem for them is that they only have a 2k lead and they have 2 additional tier 1 guardians up, so that lead doesn't really mean anything, kind of at the moment. I think the real problem for them is the fact that Cosmetical, they don't really have a solid answer for him at the moment. Listic has also been getting a lot of farm, and we've talked so many times about Billies in particular. When they fall behind in farm, they seem to not have as much impact, but Listic's been keeping the farm up. I think it's kind of been partly due to the fact that Hoot's not going to take that much farm, Obikim's not going to take that much farm, and neither will Wraith necessarily. But one thing I did want to touch on was I think Hoot using Kelvin to its maximum potential there. The fact that he just ran across the map to defend that walker, knowing that that was one of their weak points, that if they did try to contest the urn, they could lose a walk right off the bat, which would give so much more control to Abraham's and also weaken the control they have on their own left side jungle. I think was a very important little macro play out of Hoot.
Yeah, it's a great point. And speaking of the macro, the right side, Abraham's tower's under threat. Ooh, the live swap really problematic, especially with Vindicta over the top here. You've got to imagine the snipers being lined up here. Lots of teammates coming in from Lowkey W to try to keep the action right at the tower here and provide the coverage for Cosmetical to escape, which he's still looking to do so as Billy gets in on the action. Listic really doing a great job taking all the attention away. It still seems like Cosmetical might be in some trouble. There is a pursuit coming in from Together on the Infernus, but I think Infernus has lost Cosmetical at this point. So it looks like Cosmetical actually lives, and that's a huge win for Lowkey W.
Yeah, I really expected Obikim to tag along to Cosmetical so he can maybe turn around and get back in the fight, but instead he lets him go for free. They take a walker on the right-hand side, but just continue to shove this on down. Realize Abrahams don't have the manpower here to defend against this. And a great gut shot once again on Empty puts him into the wall and into the grave. That's going to be a big kill coming through, and it should be a walker unlock now for Abrahams.
One thing I love about Apollo that he's so good at doing, as we see the mid walker getting chunked down actually by Lady Geist. Okay, Michaelis is going to get out of there, but Billy, Listic coming on through. It's going to make it very painful to escape, and I don't think Life Drain is available here. Yeah, or rather Life Swap. It is not, but either way, I was just going to mention that one of the cool things about Apollo, Jason, is that Apollo has the ability to be really high pressure on a walker defender, because you can riposte the stun, and so it just allows you to just absolutely blast people who think they may be safe there. But as I say that, no safety here when you're up against Listic. Doing such a good job here on the Billy.
And Lasan coming on through, connects on a Cosmetical, but again, they just can't seem to kill him. And you know what? Part of that's due to the fact that there's a Rem, there's a Kelvin, there's so much raw healing. I also do want to take a look at items when we do have time. This is going to be very important. Even a Soundwave picked up here for a Rem, which is so important. There's going to be the combustion coming on through. The Frozen Shelter as well to help mitigate a lot of this damage being done. And Tass is able to pick up the initial kill on the Listic, but can they get much more than this, or are they forced to retreat right away?
Yeah, some trays coming on through. Once again, Cosmetic one. Literally like 1 HP, it seems like. I'm not sure if he'll survive, but the fight will continue regardless as his teammates keep it going. Wraith there on the Lash, doing really good work. We'll be escaping with Overkim on the Rem. And in the meantime, you've got Empty Dreams doing a really good job pressuring that left side Walker, continuing to get farmed up there. Very important to stay ahead of the game in the hard carry position on the team. And in the meantime, the urn has been collected on the Abraham side. Sanya Sniper is running that on the Venator. Speaking of, M1 carries.
They're really committing for this. They really don't want to let this urn go this far deep in the enemy jungle, and they're not really able to take any macro plays around the map because you do see, of course, Tass on the left-hand side prevent that Walker from taking much more damage. But you can see everyone on Lowkey W on the minimap. They're all teleporting over. They want to contest this one, or at least look like they were. Maybe they go for a mid boss instead here. Did they feel that confident to do so with no ultimates up, or they're just looking for like a raw fight down on mid lane?
It is possible because they don't have the left lane control. So Abrahams might look at that and think, okay, well, we need a lot of players to contest this, which would create opportunity for Lowkey W. I mean, do they really have the... No, they're not going to go for that. They're going to challenge this directly, the urn. And who's going to try to get the pick here? That's the question, because we can get into the stalemate situation. Who's going to try to get the initial initiation? Well, it's going to be Listic to find it on the Billy, at least, as Together was peeking around the corner. The attempt at the dunk is looking like it's going to be coming through here. They're going to just try to dive on top of this one. But again, the presence from Lowkey W looks quite strong. Over the top comes Captain on the Abrahams with a seismic slam, trying to provide some level of disruption, but it still looks like Lowkey W are looking very good in this fight at the moment. Who's very low. He doesn't have the frozen shelter up just yet. So there might be opportunity still for Abrahams here. It's some strong presence. They still have control of the urn, Abrahams. Looking to go for the dunk here, and there it comes through. Vindicta gets it done. Saints now up in the skies looking for the snipes, and is now everybody's focus. 200 HP. Is he able to escape? Looks like he's going to be able to pass by unnoticed.
So you get the urn turn in. You get a couple of kills as well, but they got to be very careful here. You don't want to lose too many more players at this point after you got the urn. I mean, the right base Guardian for their team is just under heavy fire here. Finally, it's going to be together to come back in, actually deal with it. But it took about half HP, and they're still continuing to push on this left-hand side. But Cosmetical's here, and well, you know what? Cosmetical does have a bunch of damage here. Does have support. A Death Slam is available for Vrake if he wants to use it. He has to be so careful of the right post. Repost, damn it. I always get that name completely wrong. And Son is going to be eliminated here from that one. So in the end, I mean, it's not the worst case scenario for Lowkey W, but Abrahams, they did get the urn, of course.
These fights seem really even, though. I got to say, Jason, that, to me, that's actually somewhat concerning, just due to the fact that Lowkey W, they've got some really strong team fight ults between the Chain Gang and the Frozen Shelter, and also, of course, Rem's Sleep as well. They've got a lot of really nice ults for team fights, and also, in fact, the zombies for Empty Dreams as well. So I think Abrahams are doing quite well, with all of that taken into account. Not all of it was online for Lowkey W going into that one, but still, I think we're settling into an interesting game state here. We're getting into close to that 20-minute mark, so almost ready to have another urn fight. And we're kind of even in the game state.
Can we actually take a look at items here? Like with a tab. I'm curious to see what everyone has, because we're about a minute 20 out for the next urn, which of course is probably going to be the next bit of skirmish is going to be taking place. You see we have a knockdown picked up for who? I mean, also one thing you're going to notice on Abraham's side, 5 heal banes. 5 heal banes to deal with the healing that Obi Kim and Hoot can put out. ZP pointed that out to us over in our Discord. But Hoot hasn't hit max rank ultimate yet. So actually, there's a very, very big window here for Abrahams that if you could fight, you actually, those heal banes have full potential. It's only when he gets his next 2 ability points is he be able to cleanse all those heal banes and then apply a ton of extra healing to his team in that short window before they get reapplied again. Because the thing is, even if you're stuck inside the dome, you're going to reapply that heal bane. But that like quick second, maybe, second half, 2 seconds you could get from it is going to be quite important for Lowkey W.
Another thing to note as well is 5 counter spells ready to go for Abrahams to cancel out the Lash ultimate. And they've also got, I think, 4 or 5 rebuttals as well. So, really trying to make sure they've got the counter animation on lock there. And now Lowkey W looking to get a pick opportunity. The relentless pursuit off of the ice path here to set up the fight. Hoot able to enable that pick there. Cosmetical with the kill onto the Abrams. And that mid boss is a possibility. Maybe we've got the urn coming up as well very, very shortly. So the fight will continue towards the urn pickup spot. A sprawling engagement as each team kind of rush to get position here.
Yeah, I think you're seeing Empty Dreams realize, okay, we need to shove out this right-hand lane to get control of the side when the urn does get picked up. Urn has finally spawned on in. And we're seeing Lowkey W just fully get position around it. I mean, the Death Slam alone, just Rake, him just being there is kind of like a deterrence for Abrahams to realize, okay, we can't really push into this. We're going to lose too many players. But the kill on Captain was such a perfect timing window for them to actually get control of this urn, but it's about them turning it in. Oh my god, the Fog doing so much damage here to Saint. Forced it back almost immediately. And honestly, Rake is buying so much time right now by keeping, was it like 4 or 5 Abrahams members on that left side jungle?
Yeah, it's really good harass coming on through. However, Lowkey W are still making a lot of progress to the dunk. In fact, not really anybody there except the Abrams at the moment to stop this one, just preparing the seismic slam, but that's going to pause. That buys the time. So now the Yan has not made his way across. He gets dropped, and the fight now pursues the team into mid here for Lowkey W. They're going to take down together, so they are getting the picks, but Apollo here for Abrahams, Taz, he's stolen away the urn, and in fact, Abrahams are going to get the dunk here, but as a response to this, Lowkey W for the quick pivot onto the mid boss, and you know what, Abrahams, they've got no choice here. They're a man down, but they have to take this fight.
Well, if they did have those counter spells you were talking about, they're going to need him here. Break has Death Slam, and that's kind of their one condition, paired with the Frozen Shelter to deny them the chance to take these Reju's. Abraham's going in for the contest. Healer's not going to be here. Going for an early knockdown over on a task to keep him away from this fight. Laying down the grasping hands as well, and then that time comes on through it, as well as the Frozen Shelter locking. I think that's 1-2 members inside of it. They're going to take away the Venators. So the one Reju token that they had is now gone. The fight's going to continue to break out thereafter. Cosmetical already in that Lycan form, going for the chase inside the side room. Trying to focus on Asanya once again here to take him out of this fight. But again, fighting areas like this for players like Together on Infernus can be extremely deadly for Lowkey W. They've lost now Vrake. They have 1 Reju Crystal left. And I think that's all they're going to lose here. Everyone else is relatively healthy. And Abrahams are just running out of steam.
Yeah, very tough. I think we're starting to see some limitations of their composition as they are getting kind of bullied in these fights here. And those rebuttals not really doing all that much in that situation. 1 Rejuve Crystal remaining, 4 players down, and it's just the map, the whole map that's now accessible for Lowkey W to take full advantage of.
Oh, Tass, I think he realizes he needs to die, or was he this? I don't know. Maybe he's DC.
Yeah, not really sure.
Bro, the minions are taking the shrines here. Remember we talked about before, like the minions were pushing on the base guardians, they took them down. Now they're attacking shrines. They're going to get the first shrine basically with no one touching it. The second shrine's going to fall in a few seconds. I mean, these are falling before the other 2 walkers in the game. That is ridiculous how much pressure they've been maintaining on this right-hand side.
Yeah. That is you're right. Very, very good lane pressure. And it really counts when you're doing a lot of stuff on the map and you have the lane prio and then big objectives, then take everybody's attention. I mean, you get really rewarded for it. Only now just getting express shot and slowing bullets. So very late pickups for a silver, I would say. And you know, that's because we got more counter items coming into play. You know, Warpstone was prioritized pretty quickly. The Cold Front to get the 4800 spike with the Silence Wave and the Dispel Magic all came ahead of express shot and also slowing bullets. So yeah, really, really interesting to see that those choices get made by Cosmetical. And yeah, Jason, I mean, right now I feel like the later this game goes on now, it feels like it's going to get worse and worse for Abraham's chances.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of saying, is that for Abrahams, I think they need to win early on, because I think they're just going to be overpowered by the entire side of Lowkey W. I mean, those Silence Waves had come in huge. Michaelis, no swap available anymore, and that time had come in with the Death Slam. They threw everything they had to kill Michaelis, and Cosmetics going to continue to dive on deeper, trying to chase down Saint in the air with that Warpstone that you pointed out before. Is able to force them on back. Captains join the party though, and this is their chance to maybe turn around. There's only 1 of those Reju Crystals left, and honestly, Empty Dreams isn't even there, so this is probably the best fight that they could get.
Yeah, really, really tough here. They can't save the Walker as you know, they'll try. They couldn't even get a Reju Crystal out, which would really have been at least something. Oh, Billy was so close to going down there. Ballistic's going to get healed up by all of the heal that's available here on Lowkey W. Abraham's really in so much trouble. And again, they already lost a shrine. The last shrine remaining is pretty tagged up as well already. And Lowkey W have the entire map pushed, every lane deeply pushed at this point.
It's like they have almost like a double win condition here, Dan, because they were shoving into that Walker's 5 and leaving Empty Dreams just to continue to farm away. He's at 32k. Now, he doesn't have necessarily the biggest of leads, you know, compared to his teammates, but Cosmetical was their like mid-game win condition. He's their late-game win condition. So keeping him farm constantly, keeping him away from these fights to continue to build up the soul lead that he currently has is so important for the late-game success for Lowkey W. If they have a misplay somewhere, if they do stumble, they have Empty Dreams to pick them on back up.
Your fury drive you.
Well, right now there's no way to get earn control for Abrahams. It would be a comeback earn, so would have been nice, but again, that's the benefit of all these lanes being so pushed. And hey, they've got every ability to just actually fight for this Lowkey W and just force another team fight. Especially now with the advantage that they have in souls, 25k. They're probably going to want to take it, but a chase down from Apollo. Some good burst damage coming in. There's the assistance, though. There's other people here, and now the sleep comes through as well from Rem, and the Cosmetical jumps in on the silver, and the burst damage is going to be out of control. Taz goes down, and Lowkey W just keep the momentum going.
As ZP just pointed out to us, 2 cursed relics picked up for Lowkey W, and we saw one of them used. One's on Hoot, one's at Obikim. A nap time onto Taz, followed by a cursed relic onto him, means a dead Apollo. Instantly bursted down, no chance. I mean, they even had Silence Wave on top of that too. Like, they have so much control with the pick potential of Obikim with nap time into these curses that you just don't survive. You need to somehow bait out these 2 cursed relics before you actually go for an engage. And this even Earn just dunked in over the heads of Abrahams.
Big damage coming on through, but there's just simply not enough behind this one. Abrahams and Lowkey W sprinting forward now to the W of the game to get to play against Leviathan. Just have to clean up some of these lanes perhaps, and that's all they really need to do.
Empty Dreams on Ricochet now too. So I think he's gonna start making his presence known in these team fights. Believe it. I mean, that's a big wave on the left-hand side you're gonna see here for Ray to clean up. A lot of extra souls going his way. They're continuing to fight on the right-hand side, but together, pretty much being the only one to defend with him and Tass. And again, Cursed Relics aplenty here for Lowkey W. And that's 1 kill. Now Tass, the last left alive, gonna have to go back towards his base. And this should be the Shrine and Phase 1 Patron cleaned up.
And there we go. Like I said, Graves, you have to wait, wait a little bit. But when Graves comes online, it's pretty disgusting. Just trying to dive into this one. Abrahams, there's no rejuice or anything like that, but Calvin Dome comes in for a brief second. Not necessary. Not necessary. 3 players down for Abrahams. Not too much they can do to defend this space at this point. Well, we're going to get ult there from Apollo. It's not going to do too much of anything. They're just trying to throw the kitchen sink at this, but it's too much. It's too much, Jason.
Mid boss coming up in 10 seconds. I see a rule they take phase or stage 1 patron, go back to take mid boss. We had Puckett ask a question earlier on talking about who's the best player in EU right now. I want to revise that answer. I think I have to put Hoot back at best player because not because of necessarily his individual skill, which he is vastly ahead, I think, of a lot of players in EU, but the fact that he will play support Kelvin. He will play Kelvin. He doesn't care what he plays. He just wants to win. And I think having a player on a team like that with that drive is insane. But this is going to be the last fight of the game here, Dan. Abraham's going for the contest. A little bit of a parry comes in on top of the Rejuvenator, but Saint's going to fall. They just go for the kills. They don't even need to take the rejuice right away. With 3 players falling, Lowkey W should be getting their berth once again here into the finals up against Leviathan.
Yeah, I mean, Hoot's always such a good shout because I do think he has he's kind of in a class of his own for what he's able to do on a team, provide on a team. Because he's kind of a wild card. You never know what he might do, what he might play. He can play stuff that's off meta and make it make sense in a way that can catch you off guard. And there's a huge amount of value to that.
All right, to win, man, and that's what it's about here in Deadlock. Doing whatever you have to do, be selfless on your team, secure those dubs like Lowkey W are earning here on their sleeves. Once again, going up against Leviathan, but the question now comes, can they turn their fate around and finally take down the top dogs of EU and become the top dogs that they are destined to be?
Congratulations, Lowkey W featuring Hoot tonight. They're going to get it done very quickly, under 30 minutes for our opening round of action. As we break everything down, I think the first thing that needs to be said, chat, let's chill on the judgment of Mikhail S. He was getting bullied, all right? He was getting picked apart early on in that game. It kind of just got out of hands. But as we're looking at the positives, do you think Fisheye Guy in our Twitch chat is right, DDK? Did Hoot really get tired of losing and is looking for a new team?
It's quite, it's possible for sure. I do think that one of the reasons we see so many switch ups in roster on this in a game like Deadlock is because there are so many roles, and the way that teams could shift over time as to what is working is something that I think is quite different to at least other FPS games that I'm used to, like in a game like Counter-Strike or something. Yeah, there's roles in Counter-Strike, but in this game, there are more roles, and the ways that you might kind of gel with your teammates and the ideas that you might have as to how that should all come together would be different. So, and Hoot is a guy that can fit into any roster and make it better. I do believe that. So yeah, it's cool to see Hoot on the warpath here.
Can we talk about where this game got out of hands for the Abrahams, Kaplan? Because chat said forfeit already after about 18-minute mark, that first mid boss.
I can't remember the timing of where it was, but seeing Cosmetical be this far ahead, I think it was one of their win conditions, honestly, because you need to stall the game long enough for Empty Dreams to come online. And I think the way they empowered Cosmetical and allowed him to become this like mid-game stature for them was so important. The fact that he got so far ahead, Vrake was able to interact with some other lanes as well. We saw him gank the left lane. We saw Hoot gank mid lane. Considering he was in a very tough lane off the get-go against, Michaelis and Tass, I think he did a phenomenal job of just keeping the team on his back up to that point where he could take a break and let Empty Dreams be the carry.
DK, noob question here. I was playing Street Brawl earlier, and there were 3 Abrams on my team and 3 Silvers on the opposing team. Is Silver the hard counter to the Abrams? Because we got rolled.
Well, I think right now, I think Silver's better for sure. They do a little bit of a different job, I guess you could argue, but yeah, Silver's damage output is really absurd. If you have a Silver that is kind of on par, it's really good. You have a Silver that is ahead of the game on Souls, the burst damage really is crazy, and then also the survivability becomes a really big problem because she gets into Lycan form really quickly, and her ability to escape and be able to just like jump on you is pretty difficult and overwhelming if you don't have the options. And I think with all of the healing that was behind Cosmetical did a great job getting ahead in the early portions of the game, like Jason said, getting the support on the objective play, and being able to be that very high DPS presence that then becomes quite tanky as well. And I think that's, you asked the question, where was the difference made? To me, a lot of it was really how well Lowkey W played the objectives.
As far as the Graves goes, I've seen people hate on her. Some people seem to defend her in the chat, but most people are not liking the Graves. Is that because she's auto aim? Where is the Graves hate coming from? Because Empty Dreams drops the most souls. He also is going to lead the way in objective damage.
I think it's probably due to the fact that she could be seen as like low skill. She's like
the Moira, the Scarlet Witch of this game.
Yeah, like the Moira of Overwatch, because you don't have to aim, right? But what you do have to do is know positioning, know how to play around your team, and know like what fights you can and cannot take. Is obviously the fact that you don't have to aim is one thing, but you have to be very careful about how you play throughout the entire time, because she is still extremely squishy. If she gets caught out by like a charge, there's a world where she could be bursted down before there's a chance to actually save her. So I think it does take some expertise to play her, though it's not necessarily like the highest of skill caps, but it comes into playing around your team and your team playing around you that really unlocks her at this high level.
If you're looking for most deaths in the game, unfortunately, that belonged to Captain. Mikhail S. right behind him. And of course, Listic abusing his old buddy on the Billy was one of our top performers in the early game. Graves leads it at the end. And the question I have is, DDK, do you like this combination of Obakim and Hoot on the same squad? Is this a double support meta right now?
I don't know if it's a double support meta. I think it's kind of I think it's like the factor of like having Hoot, like we talked about, who allows you to do stuff that's a little bit off the script, maybe a little bit off meta. I don't think we're in a double support meta, to be honest. I mean, but I think it can work. It just depends on how you're looking to play it. Obviously, in this case, they were able to make it work. But it did come from Hoot, not necessarily going super hardcore on the support. Kind of just Jason highlighted going into it, who had a different kind of role in that early game. Yes, it's supporting, but also tempoing out. I think that was a really key way that Hoot played this that made it work.
And it's also important to note, like, look at his assists and look at Vrake's assists. Lash already has insane speed getting around the jungle because you build into like stand mastery. You can build to grapple off of people. Kelvin can be extremely quick with the ice pass. So like him and Vrake, I think were really able to pair well together to look for these ganks and to be there to turn a fight that might have been a 2-on-2 into like a 4-on-2. I think the mobility of Kelvin really helps Hoot excel at what he wants to do in this game.
So Vrake is the Lash, which I'm told is super with Faker's face. I'm an unk. I don't understand it. Someone explain it for me in the break. In the meantime, let's take a look at your MVP. It is Vrake. It is the Lash. It is Jason Kaplan's favorite hero. Why did Vrake look so good on this character tonight? What was his impact for the squad?
I mean, I think you see it there on the screen, 53,000 damage, man. Like that, he had the highest damage in that game, put in some serious work. The next closest was 38K from Cosmetical. And Cosmetical, I mean, only had one more kill than him. The fact that he had 5 deaths, but like only 5 deaths, and for the impact he had in that early game to give Lowkey W the strong start, but more importantly to kind of punish Abrahams with him attacking on this left-hand side, keeping together in check, and keeping, I think that was Saint. No, it wasn't Saint on that side. Who was with him on that side? It was Sonya. Keeping them in check, I think, was really important to kind of limit the power spike and where they could hit it. With his early presence, he had really good death slams. I didn't really see him mess up a single death slam. There was also like no knockdowns, and I didn't really see many like counter spells or anything used to prevent him from being effective. And sometimes you don't need to hit a big 5-man death slam, man. You just get one player. If you take him out like you did to Michaelis a couple of times, that's a big threat you take off the table from the enemy team.
He also shut down that Apollo multiple times, chasing him down for the final kills. Unfortunately for Taz, he was bullied. The Apollo didn't play out the way we thought it might. DDK, we knew we were going to see some similar bans, some similar picks. Anything standing out, though, early in this meta for Europe, DDK?
Well, I want to make actually a really quick point. I think they actually had 5 counter spells, Jason. And I think that makes it more impressive that Vrake was able to have such an insane game on Lash and have such damage output, because there was lots of spots where he didn't even bother to use it. That was really interesting to me. But yeah, I think Lash, it could be something we'll see probably a bit more of. I've seen a lot of games where the Lash does do this like outstanding amount of damage, and I kind of can't work out where it's coming from a lot of the time. So, and I think it's just some of the movement that we see at this top level allows Lash to be able to maneuver around fights, get a lot of damage out over the top, whether it's through the ground strike or otherwise. So I think we could potentially see more Lash, honestly. And I think that would be the surprise for me, because I wasn't pegging him as like a super meta pick in the last couple of weeks.
We're up to 14,000 viewers over on Twitch throughout that game. Shout out to everyone coming over to check out Deadlock for EU. We are not only in the first half of the show, we're just warming up, because that was a best of 1. When we come back, it is a best of 3 grand finals. Leviathan with a new superstar. D-Mob making a move to a top squad, or is it just an April Fool's troll? We'll find out as Hoot's filling in for Lowkey W. Things are getting spicy in EU. Stay locked.